Welcome to Actually Controller, the podcast that is actually Controller, and we are actually in control of everything you are hearing right now. I'm so very sorry. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back to Actually Controller, episode 11.
I'm so sorry. Are we that far into this?
We are that far into it. We have been going now for over 2 months.
If you've stuck around, thank you.
We
Yes.
love you.
We're sorry.
We're
so
sorry.
very sorry.
so very sorry.
Introductions.
Yes, so tonight you got Steve.
Chad.
Chris.
And a Jeffrey.
Hey, thanks for everyone being here, and we appreciate you.
Don't make
We
fun
really
of me.
do.
Uh-oh.
Is that-
Uh-oh.
I need
Chris
my
Chris
dad.
needs a big, strong
Dad.
man.
Wait, here.
Dad.
Just hold it.
Wait.
Hold it. Hold it still.
Uh-oh.
We got
This might be the whole episode
irony
is
of
just
Jeff.
watching.
The irony of
teamwork is the dream work.
Love you, buddy, but the irony of Jeff.
Hey, look.
If
I
you
came
listen-
with assorted sizes.
If
This
you
one
listen-
is incredibly strong because this one is
Oh.
incredibly weak.
Have you ever watched?
That's
Have you
not my
ever?
logic.
Have you ever watched that episode of Family Guy where Quagmire finds internet porn? Not too dissimilar from what Jeff just did with the sipping
Thank
cream.
you, sir.
I'm
Now I
just
can
saying.
get drunk during this podcast.
This
Yep.
is good. This is good.
Getting drunk during the
Priorities.
podcast.
Yep.
If you're listening to us, I highly recommend you get drunk with us. That's fine.
And if
That's-
you're watching us, then you can
If-
see what we're getting drunk on.
Didn't we say we're going to have a drinking game
I
sometime?
mean,
We are going
At
to have a
some
drinking
point,
game
yeah.
soon, yes.
but also,
episode
Today,
37
today
or
I'm
something.
on a non-alcoholic beverage.
don't drink with us if you're
So-
not 21. I need to throw that in there.
Just
Yeah.
don't-
Yeah.
we do not condone.
No
Underage drinking.
Sorry about
Nope. So, today,
Oh, here.
the
we're getting
episode
serious.
topic. Yeah, but not really.
Okay, okay.
We're
not
just going to
so-
have something to talk about.
Not so
Yeah.
serious face.
Yep.
Let's give them some.
So, today we are talking about what influenced us to want to actually perform.
And it wasn't
You
Steve.
mean, was it my libido?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what. Speaking of performance.
So who's going to be first?
God, I think we're all like, duh.
Well, yes
I mean,
and no.
I have like an actual story I can tell about.
Yeah,
it.
and I think that there's, if you really think about it for a minute, there's probably that one, that performance on TV or that show I went to or something like that was
Mine-
kind of a
Mine
catalyst.
was like a whole physical ordeal that made me go, you
Physical
know what?
orgasm?
I'm doing this now because
Right.
I
All right.
can't.
All right. So
Let
this,
Chad
this
start
is probably going to be the lamest way into this.
off. We're sliding into this like a wet bowl of soup.
Like,
Oh my goodness. But
like my first, are we talking school performances or first time?
I mean, what made you
Band.
decide that music was what you were gonna do?
the idea of performance.
Yeah, like
The idea of perform. My first time performing, I was terrified. I played cello in orchestra
Mhm.
in middle school, and we had to do our performances, and I had such stage fright
Mhm.
going into that. And then I got into jazz
still
band,
do.
and yeah, no, I don't.
What?
I get excited. I don't get nervous.
Oh.
Is that what it is?
It's major.
I get excited, vomity.
But I
that's
got
what
into
happens.
jazz playing bass, and with jazz band, it kind of eased things on performance. And then I got into my first band, actual rock grunge-esque band, and oh god, we didn't perform anything. We did audition for a talent show, which we did not make it on.
Aw.
That's
Wait,
really.
you have to audition to be on the talent show? So you have
didn't you ever watch
you have
Back
to
to the
prove your
Future?
talent to be?
Didn't you ever watch Back to the Future?
Dude, our school was like that too, New
Yeah,
Haven. When
we had so many. There's so many acts that
Ah.
tried to get on.
Yeah.
You had to audition
Sorry, my
to get
school
on.
was not that big.
You're willing to fill out a time slot. Can you do two?
Can you do 3?
Yeah.
How many acts do you got?
Yeah. Are you willing to do the one twice? Oh,
I lost you.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
your battery just died.
So before the podcast began, I was about to play Russian roulette with the battery level in my microphone. And I decided to go with fresh batteries for
that was
this.
fabulous.
And the
Chris.
best part about all of that was Chris was the one that was kind of doing the mockery that he wanted to change them right now. It's like, oh, Chad, you're going to do it now?
That was
Gonna do it
excellent.
now. But
Oh, that was sweet.
Satisfaction.
And And you know what? The best part of all this, if you're watching this, you can literally watch the panic on Chris's face because I am making sure during editing that I'm keeping the shot on Chris the whole time.
Maybe during editing, to zoom in right here.
Good Lord.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
Maybe I
This
will.
is why I
Right
play
there,
drums.
too.
This isn't my area.
These right here, they died.
No, but with jazz, and then getting into rock, and actually starting to get up on stage and doing things with the music that I enjoy, it really sparked that like real drive to want to be out there. Especially when I started seeing the crowd responding to stuff that I was doing, stuff that I was creating, and I just really it's a major drive to get out there and perform.
Was there like a musical act or anything that got you into it?
No, because I was performing before I saw my first concert.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So it was just a straight up love for I want to do this.
Yeah, it became I want to be a performer. When I started writing music, I knew that I didn't want CDs to be the only platform. I wanted to perform. I want to be on stage.
Gotcha. Well, neat.
All right, Chris.
Chris?
Now that you got fresh batteries.
Hey, battery boy.
I don't know. Mine's not as linear. So I too also started in school with like being a drummer. Fun fact, I almost wasn't a drummer.
What was your instrument of choice?
No, drums was my instrument of choice, but I went to a school where everybody wanted to be a drummer. And
Yeah,
like,
so did
no.
I get it.
They're like, no, we already have too many drummers. You can't play drums. You will play. And at the time, it was trumpet.
Oh, wow.
I auditioned, the little mouthpieces and everything, and they're like, you can be a trumpet. And the guy was literally filling out the paperwork. And I was like, I want to be a drummer. And my mom stretched the truth and said, he's getting braces, which I was, which everybody knows you can play trumpet with braces. But convinced him to let me be a drummer, which coincidentally, I was the only drummer in my middle school.
Okay.
So had he not had me play drums. But what got me into it, my uncle was a drummer. I liked playing drum set. In terms of performing, it just kind of came natural. It became
It was.
I don't want to sit in my basement all the time and play by myself.
That's fair.
I mean,
all by myself.
So if you listen a few episodes back, he has a lot with his throat, and he likes to hang in the basement and play with himself.
There's a reason why he remembers all that stuff. No, so I performed in school. I was a drummer in school. I did jazz band. I did winter drumline. I loved, performing in groups, performing for crowds, getting, as Chad said, getting a reaction. But then right out of high school, I was in a garage grunge band that played one graduation. I think I might have mentioned.
Yeah,
this.
we talked about that, and
and that was it. We wrote some songs, which one of them's on my YouTube channel, and then I became a career dad.
Yep.
And when that fell apart, by 2014, I decided to get back into it. I mean, I had been hacking around with drums, but I decided to buy better gear and actually work on not just jamming, just work on the chops, bettering myself on double kick, which I think I have a lot of room, but I'm a lot better than I was 8 years ago.
You're a lot better than where you were some years ago.
He's way better than I am.
But it just came, it was one of those, like, I want to be a drummer, and it kind of like performing kind of comes with it. Like, it was for the first year with my original band, it was very nerve-wracking. It was, I've got to find, and you guys have learned on tour that I do have to have a moment. I don't have to like run away, but I do have to like leave me alone. Let me just think. Let me just
calm down.
Because all that anxiety and all that
he's got to physically do a retake.
all that adrenaline works for me, because then I use that during my performance and like it heightens everything.
Right.
But there's a method to it, but there's not really any one thing that got me into it other than I want to play drums.
Pretty much, it was a requirement to go as part of what you were ultimately wanting to do.
Yeah, it's boring playing drums at home by myself. Mm-hmm. So like being
YouTube cover drummer thing wasn't as big of a thing at that point.
Oh yeah, true, definitely.
And even at that, man, like the being
even that
able
would be
to
boring.
Create with people is just
well, the original idea was I'm going to be an original rock band. I'm going to write our own music, and then everybody can write music and everybody can upload to SoundCloud and all these other different mediums. Mm-hmm. And whether it's good or bad, it's out there.
Everybody
It's
can do
out
it.
there,
It doesn't
yeah.
mean that it should
Right,
happen, but
I'm
they
saying,
can
like,
do it.
It's not like it was 20, 30 years ago where you can write and create and put something up and it's exclusive. I've used the word exclusive before. I do remember that.
Yeah.
But I just decided I wanted to be in a band, and
That's
kind
why
of
you're
performing
now
is
in, like,
part of it.
7.
Whether this becomes a
only
big
five.
record deal thing or I'm a weekend warrior forever,
Yeah.
that's whatever.
Right.
I just love being able to do it. Part of why I'm also in 5 bands. Even during tonight's rehearsal, I had said the reason why I'm in 5 bands is not because I want to be in 5 bands.
Yep.
I love all my dudes. I love all my bands.
No.
But we live in an area where you can't really sustain yourself in one band.
Yeah.
Not easily, no. Especially if you're trying to do it financially, you definitely can't do
Oh,
it
yeah,
with one
no.
band.
Well, even then, I'm not. It's not even a
Well,
financial thing.
I
It's-
know, and I'm not saying that it is. I'm
You
just
just
saying.
get- Getting
even
all
in
the
5
different-
bands, I struggle to fill my calendar.
Well,
But
yeah.
that's because I'm also not freelancing. Like I'm in 5 bands. I'm not
Yeah.
like drummer for hire. I'm
Correct.
literally in 5 groups. Like if I was a drummer for hire, yeah, I could probably.
Right. And-
Oh,
You've
easy,
also got
easy.
like a whole bunch of like flexibility with that too, because you get to like work with so many different archetypes of music. You know.
But yeah, I mean we're going down another path. But yeah, that's. I mean I'm in 4.5 different genres.
yeah.
So
Well, and I
that's
mean,
really
it's
cool,
nice to be able to spread it out like that.
while we're in writing sessions, it's a blessing and a curse for you that you're in so many bands because you get to have all of those different things to pull for catalog
Yeah.
of inspiration.
So-
But then you instantly have the
funny thing.
This
that's-
is for another
That's
style.
exactly where in Clarity, there's that just before the breakdown where I'm doing that. When we first started doing it, I was doing a swing beat.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
going for like a bluesy like, and like if you do it wrong, it does have that. And I just did it verbally.
Oh no, we had that happen numerous
Yeah.
times during rehearsal, even after we recorded it and we hadn't played it for a while and we were prepping for a show. All of a sudden, you had slipped into the swing beat on it, and we're all kind of just like, "All right, cool, let's
Yeah,
just roll
we'll
with
play,
it."
Well,
we'll
then-
play it jazz,
So,
So,
whatever.
but then fast forward to today,
Yep.
like, and I don't know where the podcast versions are.
Yeah.
Any media, but we are writing. I can't see from here. What's the song we were working on?
What was the song? Oh, we were just working on the song called "Show Me the Way."
Show Me the Way. So we were working on Show Me the Way, and I've already been working things out in my brain, but then when we sat and I tried to put it in my hands and put it in my feet, I went to grunge rock, which is
Yeah.
my core.
Yeah.
I mean,
Grunge rock is my core. And I'm like, ugh. And then I went to like this like fusion, like I was opening the hi-hat on the ambience. So let's
Like,
screw it.
almost
I'm the
this
drummer.
boss
We're
of the
changing this
thing.
whole song. Let's go. And it really did. It took a minute for me to like focus. And then I heard you say it's one of the ending to this song is
Yep.
it's one of my more technical. I
Yes.
think.
yeah.
Yeah, where you're going with it already, and I think something that everybody will end up noticing once they finally actually get to hear all this, because something that we're also going to give you all an exclusive to is we're not working on material for 1 or 2 or 3. We're working on material for 4 different EPs congruently right now
Yeah.
that is all going to be released over the course of the next 2 years.
It's amazing.
So you're going to be getting a lot of material from us for
I didn't
quite a
sign
while.
this contract. Where is this at? 2 years. What?
So
Yeah.
Chris didn't know this, but he's now having to run, release packages for the next 2 years.
We're also
with
going
us.
to be writing like another whole album on the side
So
while these are released.
bringing it back to
Yeah.
the topic,
Yep.
I started performing because I do love playing drums. It's a lot more fun than just sitting in my basement or sitting in
Right.
in the corner. And at one point, I lived in an apartment. I sold my drums, and that's soul crushing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Oh.
just like I didn't have an electric kit, so I had an acoustic kit. So I'm living somewhere where I can't play anyway.
Mhm.
But just being able to see like, here's my drum set.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I can go.
I will
do
get back to that someday, and then I
Yeah.
sold it because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get to.
See him jumping on it, climbing on it. It's my precious.
Oh man. Oh man. But to your point, being in the groups, like having all this, like being able to just create, and I do try to make sure that when I write with you guys with Contrøller, that, and I've said it several times, like this has got to be Contrøller and not the other group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not grunge. I don't want it to sound grunge because that's not our sound. That's not our sound.
Now, don't get us wrong.
And
We
that-
do have our moments where it's an inspirational grunge moment
Which
in a song.
I've molded it into "Show Me the Way"
molds,
because
Yeah.
because of the
drums
vocals that are
differently.
happening.
Yeah, and it's not that it's a bad thing if we have our moments of influence of grunge that pop through here and there, because it's not like any of us didn't have our grunge era when we were in school. It's,
And I totally didn't.
yeah, so
I didn't. I've never been grunge.
Cool. So we have a
Seems
bold-faced
like podcast
liar.
number 12.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So anyway,
What we
You don't
lie
know
about
me.
ourselves.
In next week's episode, we're going to have an intervention about
You
the
don't know
compulsory
me.
lying that
You
Jeff
don't know
has.
me.
So
Whatever.
long story. I mean, I guess mine's, like I said, mine wasn't linear. I wanted to play. I've obviously been able to harness the anxiety, the adrenaline. I love to be able to. And here's the really fun fact. When I first started in music, my day job, I was literally the guy in shirt and tie, slacks.
Right.
Like everybody, like if you come to my office, that's how most people remember me.
Right.
Now, they finally laxed on the dressing, but I was, you could wear a polo. I was wearing a shirt and tie. I was, this is a business. I'm gonna dress like business. And so, being able to put on a persona and go out and perform and talk to people and like break I don't want to use social anxiety. I can talk to people, but being able to walk up to somebody and be like, I'm the drummer for the band is a lot easier than just saying, have you met Chris?
Yeah,
Right.
No,
For sure.
So, and that's another thing. Like, I love being able to just in every band, I do have a different look. I have a different feel because that's part of the performance, and I love being able to do that, and I love being able to create that for people.
So that means you need to come out to every one of his shows and touch him. He feels different.
He does
He
feel
does.
different from show to show. If you go in,
touch the feel of Christopher.
if you catch him
The
with
fabric
any of his
of our lives.
other bands, he will not feel like.
So
he does
anyway,
with
I have
Contrøller.
cornered this section here. We're gonna move on.
Yeah. So
Throw it over to Steve.
you want to throw it over to me, or we want to throw it over to Jeff?
Jeff-
It's gonna
Jeff
take
already
me
called dibs on being
forever long.
last.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna take forever.
That's
long.
all right. Jeff could trail out the entire
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
So with me,
He's a wee lad.
mine is kind of also in the same boat that it wasn't. I spent a lot more effort and a lot more time in my childhood being interested just in creating music, and it wasn't that I had any disdain or I was against the idea of performing, but being
He's the guy
completely
that
honest,
wanted to study theory.
not even no. Actually, I was the polar opposite. I had no interest in wanting to study.
He didn't want to. He didn't want to learn. I remember talking to him about that.
Yeah.
He didn't want to learn somebody else's style out of fear that it would become his style, and he wanted to know what his style was.
Well, yeah, I mean, to a degree, it was more of a I want to pick up an instrument that intrigues me, and it so happened to be the guitar because I started on double bass in orchestra and everything like that, and
Stand up, yeah.
Sorry, I heard double bass and I was like, what?
yeah,
Oh, not
Stand-
double
orchestral.
kick, not double kick, double bass. Okay,
Orchestral
all right, I got it.
stand-up bass.
That's why we separate the double.
Contra,
Sorry.
if you
So-
will.
Classical
Contra
bass.
yeah.
Sorry,
Orchestral bass.
I come from a school that did not have strings at all. Like,
What?
speaking of, like, the only stringed instrument was the random guy that decided to do it for jazz band.
Oh, wow.
And even then, when he graduated, we didn't have any guitar. Like, he graduated my junior and senior year. Listen, my junior and senior year in jazz, we didn't even have a bass player.
Wow.
Ooh.
Oh, that's rough.
Well, as long as there's a piano player, you can get by okay.
Sometimes.
No. Okay.
What?
No.
Yeah.
There's
Got
piano?
it. I got
Okay.
it. I
Hey,
understand.
easy.
Small school.
So
Easy.
yeah, with me, I started on in orchestra actually in 7th grade, but I was doing tons of different brass instruments. Actually, starting back in 6th, I did trombone, sax.
Trumpet?
No, I actually trumpet was the only brass I didn't do. I also did
we could have been.
woodwinds.
We could have been a ska band.
Yeah, I also did woodwinds. I was on
I almost
sax.
looked at tuba.
Yeah,
Or
I was
Tuba and ska?
baritone.
Yeah, I did actually do tuba for a minute, but I did 2 woodwinds. I did sax and I did bassoon. I did
gross.
with
Damn.
brass. Yeah, with brass I did trombone. I did tuba.
God, your parents must have hated all the instruments you had to go through. That's expensive.
No, it was all at the school. They were all
There
in the
was a lot
school
of schools
locker.
that always had their like.
Yeah.
You could get the
Those were all
school
at
rental
Lakeside.
instrument.
Well, like even at that, like at New Haven, we had
Probably
like,
not your school.
No. We had-
We had some of that. At,
you were
like, at
renting
my
your
school.
instrument. That was it.
Yeah, we had some of that at my school, but for the most part, it was
like I didn't own a cello.
It was
for
rent to own.
all the years of
Yeah.
orchestra.
Oh yeah, no,
that I
these
did.
were all actual
From
school property.
Blessings
and-
Music Company.
Yeah.
They would come in once a year when we were in 5th grade, and they would. That's how you'd sit with some. So I sat with a guy, and he was like. Had all these. It was like it's
That's more like what
it's like
New Haven
dental
was
work.
like.
Like have all your tools laid out.
Yeah.
And he's
Yep.
like, okay, here's a flute, and just the end of it. Here's the clarinet reed, and then he'd hand me the tuba mouthpiece and the trumpet mouthpiece.
Well, it's funny because
That's how it worked.
when I was in middle school, I was actually part of the orchestra group that was touring around to the elementary schools to give them their introduction into what
yeah, I don't-
middle school music was going to
Yeah,
be.
blessings.
So okay, let's get back on track
Yeah,
here.
like
so
we're-
what?
yeah, so-
what got you to the point where you're like, okay, yeah, I want to be doing
Multi
this?
instrumentalist.
Yeah, so it was well, to just wrap that up, in
Okay.
6th grade, it was, I had shown interest in all those instruments. They found out that they needed a person for all of those instruments, so depending on the piece, I was jumping from instrument to instrument.
He was the janitor musician.
Yeah, I really was. So if there's, we need another sax, I'm, second or third seat on the sax. If we need tuba on this one, I'm jumping over to tuba. If there happens to be a bassoon piece on that. So 6th grade, I ended up running like 4 different instruments. There's one point I was also doing xylophone for a little bit.
I just played drums, man.
And then
Jesus.
7th grade, I had
That's-
dropped all of that.
That's a lot of like music reading.
right.
Yeah. 7th grade, I dropped all of the standard band stuff, went over to orchestral just with the bass. And then I tried getting into drumline. Drumline was completely filled. Because I went to Memorial Park. Memorial Park was competing at high school level.
Yeah.
It was the only middle school that was actually ever competing at high school level.
When did you graduate?
I graduated 2000.
Dating you. Okay, yeah. So in Indiana, indoor drumline. So to clarify,
Yep.
indoor drumline became a big thing in Indiana in like late mid 90s.
Yeah.
IPA, and I got a lot of education on this. Indiana Percussion Association was founded in 96, and Columbia City was a charter school, along with Avon, who is now one of the biggest in the nation.
Gotcha.
No,
I mean, we're talking like
Huge.
one of the biggest drum lines in the
it's
nation.
huge.
It's huge.
We had to
This
go.
is
We
specifically
literally had to
drumline.
go to other states just to perform, and
Right.
then that's why IPA was founded. So, yeah,
But yeah, it was I obviously with all of that in school, I would, if I'm doing all of those pieces, then obviously there's no choice but to actually go perform. But little by little, it was I'm losing interest kind of into the school classical
Yeah.
musical pieces and everything. What has more interest for me? So I happened to go to a store on a regular basis that's not really around anymore, but it was here called Music Go Round. Got my
Oh.
hands on a guitar that one of their employees was up there that had just laying around. He was like, I'll give you this guitar for free. Haven't touched it in like 15, 20 years. It's some
Nice.
no-name knockoff thing. It sounds like crap.
not first act, right?
No, this was a literal home
Like
build.
Long before
Before-
Walmart got into the game,
Right,
right?
right.
Before Walmart was
This
like-
was a home build. This was some guy had built his own Les Paul home build guitar.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he gave it to me. I ended up having my mom did not want me playing the instrument. She's like, nobody's going to give you
That's
something
the
for free.
devil's music.
It wasn't even that. She just genuinely. I
was
will
like
say
my
the biggest
parents,
part
actually.
that is different for me, I think, than a lot of everybody else in this band. I came from an extremely non-musical family. Nobody else in my family has, let alone any like band background. They really had no real interest in music. Like at best, you might get like a top 40 station turned on in the car type thing.
Both
I'm with you there because I mentioned my uncle played drums, but he was like the epitome of like hobbyist. That's how I learned what live drums sounded like.
Right.
That's what I got into. But when I was a teenager, I actually had, not to sound privileged, because I lived in a farmhouse, but one of the rooms, my bedroom, actually had a separate room right off of it. And then my dad invested, one of the things that I am happy for my dad,
Nice.
he invested in a drum set. I got a little stereo system, and that's how I started. He was like, "You want to play music?
There
Here
you go. Yeah, I
Figured it out because
I was, if it wasn't at the school, I was told I shouldn't be doing it. I shouldn't invest the time in it. I actually had to hide the guitar for almost 3 months.
Wow.
And the only time I was allowed to touch it was when I was actually sneaking away going into the garage. And I would pull out the guitar because I had to hide it. for about.
I was bringing home marching tenors. I was bringing home a marching snare.
But because of all that, I kind of had this whole. I just wanted to write. I had very little aspiration for this to be a performance thing. At this point in time, I really had very few friends with the idea that I was ever going to find a band, if you will. Well, no, I'm just. It's not looking for sympathy. It's just being realistic. If you're not somebody who actually is connected to a lot of musicians, the idea that you're ever going to end up in a performance required situation really just doesn't even cross your mind. So it was just I want to see what it would sound like and what it will feel like for me to just write songs.
So then what became the driving factor for performance to you then?
The driving factor really ended up just being we're writing songs that I think are good enough and justify being presented to the mass public.
Nice.
Now,
thanks. That makes me feel really
and that's the realistic end of it and everything. I don't have this. I don't dislike performing.
He likes us enough. He wants to perform this music.
Yeah, it's not that
I just flail around and you're like, "That's great," and I'm like, "I have no idea what I play."
That's fine. It's fine because I'm only concentrating on what I'm playing. So
that's fair.
That's how
I was like, look at the guy that threw his sticks at the bass player twice today.
Yeah, but with me, it's always been
no injuries. It's okay.
Just kidding,
for the music that I felt was worthwhile. To actually, that we put me with any group of guys. If it was one of those, I felt like it was good music and the effort was truly put into it.
Then you wanted to.
Then I wanted to actually go showcase it.
Yeah.
And it's not that I dislike the idea of performing or anything like that, but that's not ever been my end all be all for wanting to do the music thing. For me, that's what we're currently doing right now, and that's developing music. Mm-hmm. That's my end all be all and everything. And I get that that's not everybody. And that's the beautiful part about doing the band thing for anybody out there that's considering it. Find people that some of them are all about the performance. Some of them are all about the actual creative process. Some of them are about the marketing process and everything like that. Get that diverse group, because if you got all creatives or all performers or all marketings, it's going to end up turning into a shit show, because either your songs are going to suck, your performance is going to suck, or you're going to have marketed the best of nothing.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll preempt before Jeff gets
We've
in there.
actually seen several of those types of bands.
I'll preempt before Jeff gets in here. One thing that I can speak for all five of us. We are definitely not in it for money.
No,
and it's not because we don't. I mean, it's there.
I mean,
we like when it happens,
like you said, creatives and finding the right balance and the right mix. But we're definitely not in it for the money. We're in it because we generally. I love just hanging out with people. I love being able to write, be creative. I do like I said, like being a drummer is. I can't sit there and just create. Right. I mean, I can. I'm just not there.
It's not your
without
part of
having thousands of dollars of equipment and I'm an acoustic drummer, so like having technology and sample pads and all that stuff is like I don't really want to do that. I don't want to get super electronic behind what I'm doing.
Oh, that's fair.
And not that those bands like something going forward or reverse. Not that I don't appreciate what they do, but I do want to be able to perform and do what I do raw, whether I'm in a basement, hanging out with you guys, in my garage, in some random cornfield, wherever.
Yeah, I mean, again, it all comes back to it takes all walks for a properly functioning band. He had to use the little boy's room.
I would rather change my batteries again than put that out there.
Uh-oh.
Jeff had to pedal.
He's going pee-pee.
Jeff had to pedal.
Now we gotta sit here and
shake it 3 times or else you're playing with it. Wait.
It's his turn to tell the story.
Shake it more than 3 times.
There you go.
Yeah. Shake it more than 3 times and you're playing with it.
12 times.
Did you know
how you got a stain on the wall?
Yeah. He completed.
He shook it 12 times. Now he's got a stain on the wall.
It takes all walks, and honestly, I think that that's something that is somewhat of a shortcoming, and I'm not saying that, again, everybody shouldn't want to perform, because if you're going to be a live band, you should have some capacity of wanting to perform innately in you and everything like that. Because if you're the wallflower that's just back there petrified, hiding behind the whole rest of your band or some curtain or something like that,
I'm going to stand on stage with my back to the
then
audience. So
there's really no point.
they're not-
Sorry, this one ended up running a little long, so make sure you catch the conclusion next week.
Thank you for listening to Actually Controller. If you liked what you heard, please consider following us on all our socials. You can easily find us on all the different platforms by going to linktree/controller33 or scan the QR code if you are watching the video version of this episode. Thank you.